Alright guys, today we're back for a Chatty cook with me, except for this time around it's a Chatty bake with me, and I'm gonna make some banana, blueberries, muffin, and I'm using only these. I'm gonna mix everything in there because I'm just really lazy and I hate washing the dishes, so yeah. So what am I gonna use? I'm just gonna show you. Hopefully I can show you without making such a mess. Alright, so we have blueberries. They're not the best, but we're gonna use them up. We have a bit of it's really hard to do this because I see the screen like upside down, but that's alright. I'm gonna use some vanilla. I'm gonna use half of this banana because it's really big, and I'm gonna eat the other half. I'm gonna use some, oh fuck, how is that called? This one as well, so a mixture of these two. I'm gonna use some vanilla sugar, I'm gonna use some almond milk, and I'm gonna use some regular flour. And I don't have measurements, so we will just have to go with our, I don't know, instinct. I wanted to film, me talking to you and the ingredients, but I realized that my other camera, the battery is empty, so I'm sorry. Next time it will be better. So I'm gonna start with the banana. I'm gonna cut half of it. Okay, I'm gonna put 3/4 of the banana. Anyway, first step, mash the banana. Can we talk about toxic relationship for a little while? Or maybe not toxic relationship, because I feel like toxic relationship is such a big word. Maybe you can relate. There are people in your life, they're friends or acquaintances or people that you're close with, but at the same time there are many moments in the relationship where you're questioning the relationship, and I feel like questioning relationship to a certain extent is just like a normal, natural part. So that's why we have the bananas, yeah. But when it happens too frequently, and depending on why it's happening, I feel like it's something we should be worried about a little bit. So I'm adding the milk, basically doing all the wet ingredients first, and I'm mixing it. And I've definitely been in that situation many times, and I feel like it's very hard to recognize when it's mixing everything, when it's just really healthy. I once had a friend with whom, whenever we're together, I felt that I was inclined and I was like, encouraged to talk shit about other people. And it's really not something I do naturally. Like, I am someone who does not like to talk about other people, and whatever I say usually about someone is something I can say to them face to face, or something I've already told them face to face. I'm someone who really does not like talking about people in their backs. But with this friend, for some reason, that's something we always end up doing, and I did not realize it until, I went back home and I was on my own, and I was like, shit, I said this and I hope she didn't take it that way, or I shouldn't have phrased it that way. And I feel like, sometimes people just do not sort of like encourage or create or cause the best behavior in you. I'm trying to get the vanilla out of this. And so usually, what you say is like, you're saying it with the best intentions, and you're saying it without any desire to like gossip or be mean about someone, and then people transform it into something else. And for me, that's like the one thing I've struggled the most, I think, with in my relationships with my friends, is the fact that many of my friends have had, and nobody's perfect, that's certainly not me, but many of my friends have had behaviors that were not super nice towards, some of us, like in the group of friends, and therefore it has created some discussion sometimes. And the way I see it is that discussion is a very healthy thing, and I encourage discussion all the time. But then I realized that for a lot of people, it's not really how they perceive it, because it's not the way they work and the way they function. For them, it's just gossiping, whereas for me, it really isn't. It's not gossiping, because what I'm telling is exactly what I am telling to their face. And so I find myself sometimes in a situation where I just don't really want to talk about it, or I just don't want to talk with some friends very much, because I feel like I'm adding the sugar. If you're wondering, it's like 1/4 of a liter, and It's like 1 cup actually. 1 cup with the milk, the banana, and the sugar and the vanilla. I feel like basically some friends create drama in, and I don't know if they do it intentionally or not, but then you don't realize, or I mean maybe I'm too naive, but sometimes I'm like, they're not creating drama, they're just, you know, sharing their story or whatever, and therefore I indulge in it and I share my story and I answer the questions very honestly, and then it's like I am creating and part of the drama as well, when it's really not what I'm trying to do. When I was younger, I feel like friendship was something that I really valued. It probably was, you know, the most important thing in my life, and I would spend so much time with my friend, and I would spend so much time with my friends, and I would love it so much. But as I've, you know, grown older, I've realized that, and it's very sad to say, but friendship is not something that's so important for me anymore. And it's not because I've wanted it to be that way. Honestly, I can say I've made so many efforts and so many like compromises and just being so open with my friends, even though, as I said, obviously I am not perfect and I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm perfect, but so it's like 4 tablespoons of flour. You know, moving out to Paris, realizing that my friends did not really want to share the same experiences with me as I wanted to share with them, realizing that trust was not something that was equally shared on both parts, realizing, you know, that my friends have values that I don't feel very aligned with, and just being so alone and lonely for so long, it really definitely has made me realize that friendship is no longer the #1 thing in my life. And that's quite sad. I'm gonna be honest, it is quite sad, but that's the truth. You know what, actually, people are still a big part of my life, but I feel like meeting students, meeting people that I don't know, meeting strangers on travels, exchanging with people online, those kind of interactions with people, and that's so sad to say, but it's been more fulfilling than my relationships with my actual friends. And that's like so freaking sad to say, but that's very true. I should have added that earlier on, but I forgot. Anyway, I do believe, you know, that sometimes in life there's no point in fighting things, and I believe in that very rarely. I'm gonna add a few frozen raspberries because I feel like there aren't any blueberries, and it's not an excuse to give up on everything that's difficult in life, but it's just being realistic. You know, it would be silly of me when I'm studying, when I'm preparing for so many things, when I'm so young and, you know, hoping to see the world and do things in the world. It would be just silly of me to try and fight so hard for something that's apparently not working right now. Little speech is kind of depressing in a way, but it really is not. It's upsetting. It's not the most satisfying thing ever. And, you know, as someone who does not like for things to not go according to my values, and as someone who does not like change very much, it was something I struggled with for a long time, and I feel like it's not something that's discussed very much. But as you grow and as you get older and as you enter the adult life, I feel like you get very distant from a lot of people, be it because you have different occupations, different time zones, different schedules. But all those things, I believe, you know, are not the real reason why. Like, if you get, if some distance somehow happens in a relationship, I think it's because either both of the participants or one of the participants has not made enough effort to make the relationship perdure and last. And when I was younger, I used to think that relationships were only natural because they didn't require any work. But that's when you're young, that's when you don't have anything to focus on but your friendships and your relationships and your hobbies. And when you start getting older, it's something that changes, and I feel like it's something that can be really depressing. And when you enter university and when you enter the working life, it can be really isolating depending on your personality, your environment, and also what you're working in. I have a friend who I think has never been so social than now when she's working, because she's working in an agency and she's getting on quite well with all of the people she's working with, and she was living abroad, so she had, I think because of her personality, she had to create an environment of, you know, French people and French people she knew, and so she created herself a bubble, and all those people, I don't think they necessarily have very similar values or very similar interests, but they work in the same field and they have the same work related goals. So she's very social, and that's one possibility. But I take, for example, myself, with my personality, my studies, which are literature and linguistics and research, with my job, which is teaching and super exhausting and something you ultimately do on your own in a classroom, you don't, and being someone who doesn't need others for work related stuff, I haven't come to create the same relationship that she did, and therefore I'm quite a lonely person. And I received so many messages from you guys saying, I can't make new friends at uni, I've moved out of my, you know, hometown and I can't really make friends, how do you do? And I don't really have any advice, because truth is I haven't made really new friends because of my lifestyle, which does not really allow for it, because of my personality, very likely because of my mental illness as well. But it's just, you know, it's a part of my life, and I feel like it's also, I mean, I always come back to this, but this extrovert, very social, very active and friendly and out and about sort of lifestyle that's projected and, you know, presented as the one that we should all have and we should all adopt, makes some of us feel really worthless because we are not like this. It's true that I feel lonely sometimes, you know, it's true that even though I have so many more exchanges and relationships with people than my friends have, and different people and different opinions, different backgrounds, ethnicities, different religions and stuff, those very interesting and, you know, in just fulfilling in a way relationships do not fulfill the emotional need that friends, really good friends, would be able to fulfill. But nothing is perfect in life, I think, and honestly, if I look at it just trying to detach myself from what society thinks of as successful, happy, positive and blah blah blah, I don't feel like it's so sad that I am sort of like isolated, because it's also what works quite well for me sometimes. Being an introvert and also being someone who likes to read and someone who just doesn't want to be around people that I don't feel comfortable around, and like 100% comfortable around. So it's been a big shift in my life. I've realized, you know, about the past couple of years, it's been really clear that friendship is not something that's so prevalent in my life anymore. I'm someone who it's a bit of a paradox, but I'm someone who interacts with so many people because of my job, because of YouTube, because of how I am as a person when I'm out, because of traveling and stuff. But at the same time, I'm someone who's so solitary, and it's been a bit difficult to come to terms with that. And time to put those in the little molds. And also I just wanted to say, life, you know, is about, I think really it's phases. So sometimes life will give you most of the time actually, life does not give you everything at the same time. Meaning, you have to understand and accept that sometimes your work life is going to be amazing and your maybe romantic life is going to be shit. Or maybe life is going to give you amazing travel opportunities and desires to experience and discover the world, but you won't have anyone to do it with. And if you wait for everything to be perfect, if you wait for the good friends to be around, if you wait for the good partner to be around, if you wait for the perfect job opportunity, chances are you're gonna miss out on things, because it's not true. Like, that's not how it works. Life is very rarely perfect in all aspects of it, really. And when you grow up, you ultimately have to accept it. It's like a fucking long process. I'm sure if some of you can relate, you'll agree with me. It's a very long process. But everybody can do it. And I feel like most people will have to go through this in their lives. That's all I wanted to say. It was a very long video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took something out of it. I'll see you in a bit to show you the muffins. Oh my god, look at those beautiful muffins. Wow. They're really beautiful. It's always the tricky part for me to take them out properly and not ruin everything, especially when there are fruits in them. Alright, it's a bit crumbly, but that's it. We have a muffin, a beautiful little muffin. Alright, it's probably time for a taste test. Zoom in into this beautiful. Oh, that looks so good. That looks really good. Right. Taste test. Oh, that's so good. Like, the blueberry is really sweet and the strawberry gives it a little bit of a kick. But what's really nice is the texture. Sometimes vegan muffins, I really want to show you the texture. I don't know if you can see, but sometimes it's like really fluffy. Sometimes vegan cakes and vegan muffins are really not fluffy. You know, it's really hard to get a good, light, fluffy texture. This one is really, really good. Thank you for watching it. Thank you for your support always. I really appreciate it and it means a lot to me. And I hope you try out those muffins. I guess it's not a proper recipe, but still, kind of looks like a recipe, right? And I'll see you soon. Bye!